It looks like Ghost isn't phasing this brand new debuff in game. Variant gems might get some 2017 loving after all, and the community speak on the Canadian difficulty. Yes, hello everybody, welcome back to the Marvel Contest of Champions news. This is your Friday edition. In this edition we're going to be digging deep like a mole man that lives in a hole man. But in any case, thanks to those that know, thanks to those who support and come back and watch every video. Hit the like button, subscribing with post notifications on all. That's the best way to see all the videos when they pop up and know whether or not I'm covering a lot of the stories that they want me to follow, and as well some other ones as well. But in any case, just before we get into news, I just want to give thank yous. Massive thank yous to my current members, my Patreons. Thank you very much for the support through the means of that, and as well those that support through the medium of Twitch and Twitch subs, and those that give Twitch Prime. Now, I haven't been live streaming the last couple of days because I'm technically at this moment in time having a little staycation and having a couple of days rest, and obviously resting over the weekend to then put out fresh content next week. But I will be live streaming tonight for sure, it's guaranteed, doing special incursions with some obscure champions. If you don't know, myself and Dan do a new series where we pick a champion, we then pair up some synergies with it, and then we go and we test out in Sector 6, because obviously testing out in Sector 7 is a bit overkill for it, especially if we've only got it at like a lower rank, and also like lower rarity. But as well, you know, come on by to that stream. We're testing out Mr. Sinister, and obviously if you want to give a Twitch Prime and Twitch sub, then come on by and support through that means. Okay, let's kick off the Marvel Contest of Champions news by talking about Alien and Predator. Now, if you saw my video yesterday, this is a little bit of a reminder for those that haven't seen that video, and as well a little follow-up. So, as a lot of you know, that Marvel Comics now owns the rights to Alien and Predator. There has been talk about the idea of them going, right, could we enter those two characters into the MCU? But obviously that is very much down the line, and sometimes you just don't know if it could be a thing. And Kabam have done things where they've tied up stuff with comic books. However, as you can see with the promotional images here, that there's the Xenomorph, that's obviously in the Marvel Comics, got the Marvel logo there, and then as you go down you can see the Predator. Predator's got a Iron Man drone, Iron Legion or whatever it is, right there. The head has been taken off, and as well it's sitting on top of the Avengers Tower, which I think is a nice little nod. Now in that video, which I'll put a link to in the description, it does go over the idea of like, okay, other games have done it with other comic book brands, and you know, Injustice 2 bringing in TMNT into it, and not to mention there's a few other games as well where Mortal Kombat has done stuff, sharing of rights between Warner Brothers and DC Comics. But obviously, just kind of follow up on this is that, you know, what about things like, well, Star Wars, and, you know, the idea, well, can anything really come into Marvel Contest of Champions? Well, the sharing of universe has actually been done, so the Disney Infinity movie, Disney Infinity thing, showcases some kind of like cross type brand kind of crossover, but it's not ever gonna happen. I mean, in my opinion, the way that like the likes of Star Wars has such an important, rich and odd timeline to things, trying to put that into some sort of MCU or even like Marvel Comics crossover type thing, which I think they technically did with the Marvel 1000, I want to say, potentially, that has been done. Don't quote me on that, because I don't think it has 100%. I think there was something last year to celebrate something of a special comic book, but I don't think it's ever possible. They have talked about creating Star Wars based characters in the same universe, but because there's so much of a rich tapestry of a weave of, as I said, timelines, and as well just kind of rich arcs to stuff, trying to get them to pair off isn't exactly the easiest thing. So you never really know what the future will hold. I just think it's easier to put it into Marvel Contest of Champions if it was a possibility. And is it likely? I would probably say it would. If it was to happen, it would happen in the next 5 years, and it would happen, say, tomorrow. So like in 5 years time, if they were bored and, you know, wanted to add in random champions. But players have resonated and thought it might be a good idea. Okay, now onto one of the important stories, and Ghost. As you know, Ghost phases debuffs. Now, if you know rightly, Sasquatch has been kind of entered into the game not as a playable champion, but as a fightable champion. In any case, he puts on something called a Rupture, and a Rupture is tickable damage, it's dot damage from that particular debuff. But here's the thing, a lot of players are struggling to be able to phase said debuff, and people took to the forums yesterday. Not a massive amount of coverage of this, and as well not a massive amount of like people coming to, maybe people aren't using Ghost against Sasquatch, but at the same time that I feel that could be quite risky to play that kind of game of cat and mouse with kind of playing with debuff damage in this circumstance. Either way, it's not phasing it. The biggest update is of late yesterday, obviously in UK time. Kabam said, hey there, the team is aware of this issue and is looking into a fix for it. And obviously, we just don't know when this is going to come about, but there you go. It's being looked into. Fingers crossed it's sorted out as soon as possible. Okay, so let's briefly talk about the Cavalier difficulty or Canadian difficulty. The fact is this has a lot of, I'd say, mixed responses, and especially as we enter into a second week, especially with some of the nodes having some very kind of like scuffy interactions, and obviously having a diverse roster really helps. The problem is Kabam pleasing everybody, and the fact is they can't. Too many people will say it's too easy, too many people will say it's too hard, and others will just be undecided. At the end of the day, this is the first iteration of Cavalier difficulty, and it is not a full event difficulty. Something to really point out as well is that this is meant to be a side event. This is meant to be stuff that's done relatively quickly so players can get on with other things in game. For a lot of the end game players, content for them will largely be Summer of Pain or maybe the boss rushes that drop to the latter part of the month. And if you're hoping for the variant 5 to be that particular content, that's for end game players, it's debatable because the rewards wouldn't technically scale with what a true end game player would need, like tier 5 class catalyst, a large amount of 6-star shards, and loads of tier 5 basic, which that event will not see. As the good dude DNA 3000 doth say, some side quests are easier than the average monthly event quest of the same ordinarily. Epic versus Uncollected, some are harder, some are much harder, like some of the older randomizer buff ones. It depends on the structure of the event. Next up, and let's talk about variant 5 gems. Yes, we did talk about this on Wednesday, but there's been a slight update which is important to talk about. So, first and foremost, the idea about the variant gems is variant 5 is coming up, so therefore should we see the progression of being 2017 gems, where other events have done, or other variants have done, 2015 as standard, then adapting to 2016 as the variants have progressed. So, variant 5, should that see 2017 gems? For me personally, I'd love to see it. Is it a case that I think realistically Kabam will put it in? I don't think so. However though, it's like, with the champions being buffed up that are coming in the future, a lot of the champions that we've already ranked up from 2015 and 2016, you know, because they're not ones being overly focused on, it may be of value to give us the 2017 gems. That's just my thought process on it. But at the same time, there will be a broad spectrum of 2015 champions. And again, I've had issue. If you follow the channel, then you know about this. I've pulled too many skill rank up gems. I've actually got, I think, two. I think in total I've probably pulled about 6 to 8 of those skill rank up gems. And I'm going to come to a point where well, I'm not saying I'm going to run out of skill based champions, but I'm going to run out of average ones to choose now. And I'm going to have to then choose some really stinky ones to rank up. In any case, what's the update on this variant 5 gems? Not to get people's hopes up, but it looks like Kabam Mike is going to take this to the game team, saying, just wanted to drop a note that I'm talking to the team about the desire for 2017 gems in the new variant. Yes, it may be possible for you to rank 5 your King Groot, like other top people, like Brian Grant, and maybe other people like... Okay, so there's not a lot of people that might have ranked 5 their King Groot, but they've done it for good reasons, dagnammit. Either way, this is good news if it's a case that Kabam Mike can get it confirmed off. And if you want to find out more about like deep diving speculation when it comes to the rewards, then come on by to the podcast on Sunday, where we're going to be talking a bit more about like the difficulty, how Kabam should do the noding, and as well the reward system and these rank up gems. So, yeah, it could be a bit out of context because we recorded the podcast last night because I'm having the weekend off, that if Kabam say yes, then we look like a bunch of silly people. But that doesn't matter. The fact is, at least it's being talked about. And now we end the news on Friday with Artistry Corner. So first of all, let's shout out Sonny Ramirez. Sonny's put together some amazing art. It's incredibly talented. I do like a lot of the fantasy-based section. Obviously, we've got a Wolverine here, Wolverine done in pencil, which I'll have a look at in a second. But this particular image, you might have seen before. You might know. This one was actually done for Men's Health magazine, which is really impressive, having this kind of like this business suit Thor with like, well, yeah, just a business suit Thor. I love it. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, like he also does so many other things when it comes to the artistry. It's not just about like the fantasy side of things. There are other things he does. Go and check him out. Links in the description down below. Also, it's always amazing to see what Berserk Revenant's been doing. Berserk Revenant has some fantastic sculpting work, and this is a thing that's incredibly impressive. Like, to do sculpting is and requires a lot of patience, and as well a lot of just getting proportions and angles correctly. And this Juggernaut is absolutely amazing. I love this. Obviously, if you're not familiar, Berserk Revenant has done a lot of stuff. He's even done a domino for me. So yeah, go and check it out. Links in the description. And as well, he's got a YouTube channel. If I find it, I'll put it on the description as well. Doing these sculpts in process and recording them. And yeah, it does look really cool to kind of see this together and the level of effort and detail that has to be put in. Even the rivets have got that kind of glimmer and glide, the way that they're kind of put together on the head, and as well that like texturing when it comes to like skin, and as well trying to get like muscle definition as well, and also some battle scarring as well. So that's, I think, is really cool, and especially when you look to the rivets of the shoes and the boots that obviously look incredible and on point as well. There we go. That's been the Marvel Contest of Champions news for Friday. All videos between now and Sunday will be pre-recorded content. I've got a 5-star featured opening later on today, and as well loads of content going out over the weekend. Another Iron Man VR series episode, and the live stream will be the freshest piece of content that I'll be putting out, and that will be on Twitch. So go and check that out. Check out some other content here and over there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.